is the manager of our fine city, Jonathan Greene. Hi, Jonathan.
Hey, Bart. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm really well, thanks.
Happy Easter.
Happy Easter to you, too.
Got excitement in the last city council meeting, and also in the last week we got news that the Hayes, you sold it.
Well, we've entered in a purchase agreement with a developer from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, who has extensive experience in redevelopment of very big, very expensive historic properties. So I would say we have, as city staff, we have cautious optimism about this. This is, as you know, with your experience in the downtown, not the first time something like this has happened. So I think this is different in a lot of ways. The main way is that we have a bona fide developer with experience with this sort of project. Mm-hmm. And then secondly, our counterparts of the state of Michigan and the MEDC are doing everything they can to support this redevelopment. I'm really happy to have their support on this project. It's a very big project.
Well, I know you remember very well when you first came to Jackson as DDA director, your first assignment was to get something going with the Hayes.
I'm sorry, you were the board chair for a while, a number of years. I worked directly for you then. I'm sorry it's taken me this long, Bart.
Well, it actually had to happen at just the right time, and that really is a culmination of a lot of things. Tell me about how the Anchor Initiative and you recruited potential developers to come check this out.
Yeah, it was a long process that was spearheaded by Scott Fleming, the executive director of the Anchor Initiative. And he came up with an idea. It's not uncommon when cities want to have, or any local governments want to have a project like this undertaken. We did a very public and lengthy request for proposals. We reached out to state developers, national developers, and then local parties as well, because we know that that building is important to the local community. There may be someone here in our own backyard who may want to put together a project and a team to take that on. So we put together a prospectus on the property, worked with the state of Michigan to promote an event where we had a tour of the building, lunch on a day, and talked about the opportunities that could be available with the redevelopment of the Hayes Hotel. And so Scott was the person doing all of that groundwork and the back end work to make all that happen. And it was the J. Jeffers Group did come to our meetings here. They were one of two entities that responded to the request for proposals. We put together an ad hoc committee of some Anchor Initiative folks, some DDA folks. The current board chair was a part of that, and myself and some other economic development consultants to review the proposals. And this was clearly the best one. And like I said, I'm cautiously optimistic about this. And we couldn't have done any of this without Scott Fleming's help.
Well, when you look at their the record, they certainly know what they're doing, and they've had some success and developed some beautiful historic properties.
They're actually in town today, a whole cadre of architects running around that place and noting things, and so they seem, and every time we talk to them, unfazed by the scope of the project. They say this is what we do. And there were seven architects over there about 3 hours ago. I don't know if they're still there, but that's how fast they're moving. And I think that shows the level of commitment that they have and their strong desire, and they probably know. Obviously, they're never going to say anything, but they probably know that this is going to be a home run for them. Mm-hmm. But they're doing all their due diligence. We're continuing our due diligence in reviewing the company as well. So.
The other thing about timing, Jonathan, if the Lofts on Louis and the 200 hadn't been developed, there wouldn't be probably the knowledge that the demand for housing is real.
Yeah, you're 100% correct on that. In those two developments, I mean, we're talking about 120 some odd units for housing. They really showed that, without having to do a study, the demand for those units are here. Now, what we're doing right now, because of those developments, because we've had some workforce development, projects come on board, we're looking to re-examine our housing market in the city and in downtown. So we've engaged a consultant firm to do a housing study who will help us understand going forward what types of housing is needed in the city and then also specifically downtown to help make that case for continued investment. Because I think anecdotally, it's needed, and we need a variety of different housing options from 1 bedroom all the way up to 3 bedroom and beyond. And I think we need to start having some of those larger units in our downtown, so we're going to attract families into the downtown area.
Oh, the Greenwood Place, that's another development that's planned on Greenwood and Wilkins. And that's the kind of plan that requires affordable housing buy-in from MISTA. The Hayes does not.
That's correct. They're different in the sense that the Greenwood project will be workforce housing. So, you know, when we talk about that, we're talking about people who work in Jackson, who live and work in Jackson. They may make $15 to $25 an hour, supporting a family that way. So it's really meant, from people who work in the service industry in the city, whether it's downtown at restaurants or whether it's medical aids in our robust hospital system and medical office system that we have in Jackson. It really targets that kind of sweet spot for incomes and family sizes.
Well, it looks like several other potential developers have expressed interest in Jackson, so more to come.
More to come for sure.
Summer's coming, and the last 2 summers, no Nixon pool. What's the state of it this year?
Well, we're really happy, and I'm about probably a few days ahead of our public information officer, Aaron Dimmick, and department head of Parks and Rec, Kelly Hoover. But I would anticipate, I'll say it this way, I would anticipate a big announcement of Nixon Pool being open this summer, probably on Monday.
Oh, good.
But I would expect that, and I think that's a really good thing for the city. I think it's such a good amenity, and it shows these last 2 years without having it how much it's needed and how much people like it.
And I know you've got something that's just percolating, that there's potential future development and improvements at that park.
Yeah, that's an old. The pools are hard all the time, but we look at all of our parks and our park system to make strategic investments, and I think that is an area where we can build amenities for our city residents and users.
I know you were involved in the summit to reduce violence last week. And you've actually been, I think, involved in group violence intervention for the last several months. There's potential staff that's going to be coming on board that specializes in group violence intervention. What's the status of that? Yeah,
we're still working to attract qualified applicants to staff up our positions. It's anything right now. It's a bit of a process, but I'm really excited to put the work into the group violence initiative, to have someone who's committed to working with the players within that group, to see what the city can do to help drive down the instances of violence and gun violence in the city. But what I liked about the summit last week was that there were so many different people from the community there. We had a diverse representation from the business community and nonprofits. The schools were there. It was really great to see so much ownership of the issue being taken by multiple different partners, and all looking for ways that we can mutually support each other. I think that my big takeaway from it, or one of my big takeaways from it, is that I think we recognize that the city of Jackson entity as an organization can't address this problem on its own. It's going to take community partners, and it's going to take building relationships with other groups to really make a difference in that spot and make the community safer and provide opportunities to the people who are making, I would say, less than ideal choices, and try to shepherd them in a manner to make better choices.
Monday, West Avenue is going to close, a busy 3-block stretch, and that is pretty major water main, lead line replacement project.
Yeah, there's no easy construction project. They're always disruptive. This one will add probably more than a few minutes to people's commutes in the morning if they're using that section of West Ave. But our infrastructure in the city, being the city the size we are and as old as we are, needs to be maintained, needs to be replaced from time to time. Mm-hmm. And water main project helps us replace the lead service lines, which is very important to us right now as a priority for the city. So anxious to get this done and over with so we can return to normal service.
Yeah, a number of construction projects, street construction, of course, but I think also we've got some things happening at the parks. Loomis Park, Booze Center.
Yeah, Loomis Park is set to see a major overhaul in the layout of their play structure and that front area. If you've been there, and I know many viewers have been there, but the entrance to that building is sunken down probably 4 or 5 feet, and it makes for an unsafe situation. I think over the years, I can't count the number of unfortunate incidents of something happening to people down in that area where the public or passersby can't see what's going on there. And it's a problem for our law enforcement as well, our police department, not to be able to see what's happening in the front of that building. So we'll see, the area be shaped a little bit, a different new play structure in the coming months. So really excited about that. And then we're making a plan to address the Booth Center to make incremental improvements and renovations over time, because as nothing in this world is cheap right now. Mm-hmm. Not that anything was really cheap before, but in the era of rising costs and supply chain issues, we have to think critically about how we stage things, how we time projects, and how we're going to pay for those projects.
Well, parks certainly a big part of what Jackson is. It's unusual that a city this size in area and population has 30 parks, but they all need maintenance and management.
They do, and you hit the nail on the head. Jackson has a lot of parks, but it's because we love them. We love being outdoors, and I think in an urban environment in the city, it's important to have those places where people can go outside, enjoy nature, get fresh air, exercise, play with their children, or just connect with people. Yeah,
and I think you and your wife and your dogs and kids have been at all the walks and runs in the last few years. We hit them all, it seems like. There's not a 5K in town that probably haven't done yet. So, getting the summer events, actually all the community events are starting to come back this year, and looks like a lot planned for downtown. The Rose Parade, and a new location downtown. That'll be interesting. It will be. Yeah. It's really good to see those events come back. You and I have a history at the Downtown Development Authority where those events were critical to driving traffic into downtown. And now we've got such great businesses in our downtown. I think it's important that we do what we can to bring people here, to expose them to the good things happening. Well, we still have COVID dollars that are not yet allocated. I know you've already committed as a council some of the spending, but what's the next big thing? Broadly speaking, the focus of our American Rescue Plan Act funds is for infrastructure. So that means renovations and rehabilitations to equipment, processes, and features at our water plant and our sewer plant. But it also means making investments in replacing our underground infrastructure and underneath our streets and in our neighborhoods. So we have a number of projects at both of our plants. Both plants were built many decades ago. Both were meant to serve the region. And so we need to make sure we keep up on our processes. They're both highly critical to the health, safety, and welfare of everyone in Jackson. But it's important to me as well to make sure that we do what we can for what people can see. No one here really is going to see those projects at the plant. Yes, they make a difference with water quality, both on the water plant side and the wastewater side. But I want people to see the city's commitment to keeping up our infrastructure out and about, and see those dollars in use. And when we use those dollars in that way, that means that the impact of rising water and sewer rates over time is blunted and lessened. One other thing before we let you go, over the last few months there has been a study about parking downtown, and it was discussed that there might be another another way to pay for the parking and maintenance and management. Meters was even on the table. What's the status?
Well, it was a really good exercise in the sense that we had an idea based on some issues we have in our current system with how it's funded through assessments to businesses and property owners. The income doesn't match the outgo. Just the income alone doesn't even cover the cost of winter maintenance, i.e. snow plowing and snow removal. So we saw the need to try to think about something different so we can maintain our downtown infrastructure parking lots the way they need to be maintained, really to be as good looking as the businesses we have downtown. So the Downtown Development Authority and the city worked together on a proposal that considered installing smart meters in the downtown. So we did just enough of research to understand what it would cost, where these things might be deployed, and how they would work. And then worked with the Downtown Development Authority, the director, Corey Mays, and the chair, Jackie Austin, to engage with the property owners and the business owners downtown, even residents. They had 3 meetings. And the first 2, I would say, were mixed, kind of leaning toward embracing these new smart meters that you see in other downtowns, where you just use a phone app or your credit card to pay for parking. But at the 3rd meeting, the pendulum swung in a direction to where it became clear that we're not quite ready for that option right now. But throughout the whole process, we did get great feedback from our users in downtown about how the city could, number 1, enforce smarter, number 2, be more customer service oriented, and number 3, also learn that our assumption that meterless parking assessments were a big, bad, nasty thing that nobody wanted, it helped dispel that notion, and the assumption that we had that nobody wanted them. What we heard actually was there's an openness to have a discussion about changing the assessment as it is right now to help generate more revenue to cover the costs of the parking utility. So in the end, our idea didn't come off. But my goal throughout the whole process was to come up with the best plan, not my plan, to come up with the best plan. And I think what we learned in those meetings is how we can come up with the best plan, and that doesn't at this point right now include meters.
All right. Thanks for all the updates.
Yeah, thanks, Bart.
Good to see you. Happy Easter.
Happy Easter to you too.
Our city manager, Jonathan Greene.